Do you use any form of email in your marketing? And have you ever used AI to write copy for you? Doesn't matter how you answered either of those questions, because I guarantee you are going to learn something from today's episode. This is an expert episode where we are speaking with health and wellness email marketer and copywriter Amy Griffin. Amy has sold millions of dollars in health and wellness products over the years, from supplements to shakes and online courses. We get into why you need to be using email if you're not now, and if you are already, then how to get better results. As well, a big topic on everyone's mind at this point, AI. Specifically, if you are using AI to write copy for you, what are some of the dangers and things that you should go check your copy for right now? I'm Joel Oliver, and this is Profits Through Podcasting. Amy, welcome in.
Hey, thanks.
I'd like to ask you first, what led you into writing specifically for the health and wellness space, since everyone here, both listening, myself, and you are in that niche? How did you get there?
Well, it's kind of a long journey, but both of my parents got cancer in their 50s and they both passed away. My mom had a glioblastoma and my dad had a very rare form of liver cancer. And it just kind of sent me down this rabbit hole of like, what in the world? Why did this happen? How can I prevent it from happening to me? I'm a single mom. I don't want to leave my son. How can I be better and healthier? And then I've also had kind of a lifelong struggle with my hormones. I'm a very detail-oriented person, so I just kept researching, and then turned my marketing experience into health and wellness marketing. So
interesting. So we've got a backstory there as to why you went down that path, which is, it's interesting to hear what inspires people. But I'm so grateful that this space exists. Unfortunately, like in your case, there was a sad story there, but there's so much more information out there these days than just being able to go to your doctor and kind of having to live with whatever you're told. That's what I like about this. So I think you and I both have similar inspiration for being here, although not quite the same. But it's great to be part of being able to get that information out there and see other people's lives changed for it.
Yeah, a lot of times I see a lot of pearl clutching online of, people are getting their health information from influencers, and it's like, well, yeah, because the system that we have doesn't give us information. When you're basically given 7 minutes to talk to a doctor and you're dismissed and you're just sent on your way, of course, people are going to look to each other and look to other avenues to learn about their bodies. It's like we shouldn't have to have permission to know how things work.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, let's get into what we're going to talk about here today. So you write copy, you do emails. Everything is constantly changing these days, faster than ever when it comes to marketing, social media especially, and so many of us rely on that. Not everyone, but that specifically changes so fast. And, things that worked stop working. Email, despite many naysayers, is still hanging in there. It's still working. Do we see as much change in terms of what works and doesn't with email? Or is it kind of just the tried and true stuff continues to work?
That's one of the things that I love about email is it's, kind of the survivor of the internet. Tried and true things work. The formulas still work. Nurturing your audience, educating your audience, especially in the health and wellness space, it works. So that's why we keep sending emails. I think that email is one of the few places where you're in control. When you're on social media, when you're, scrolling, you're getting served ads that other people decide. You're getting served content that the algorithm decides. For email, you're in charge. You're the one who says, yes, I'm inviting you into my inbox and I'd like to learn more. And there's this kind of like permission-based relationship there that I think makes it extra powerful. And again, especially when it comes to health and wellness, it gives you a really great opportunity to build that know, like, and trust to help people find the solutions.
So definitely something that we should be invested in as entrepreneurs.
Definitely. If you've got a podcast and you're not getting people from the podcast to your email list, you're missing out on your best revenue channel. Because when people are in the zone of consuming a certain type of media, they tend to stay there. So yes, on the podcast, they're going to get to know you, like, trust, all of that. Getting them to the email list is going to make it easier to convert. Same thing with your social. Use your social media as a channel to get people onto your email list. Also, because that's the land that you own. I had a client earlier this year that she got deplatformed at over 200,000 Instagram followers.
Wow.
Without a list, she would have been out of business,
Yeah. Wow, that's a great example of why this matters.
You don't know, especially in this space, because you say the wrong thing and somebody reports you for, medical misinformation or whatever the misunderstanding might be. And that's it. You're done,
Yep. Okay, that's a great intro to why we need email. I would hope that most people have something going at this point, but let's say in the event that someone is not using email marketing at all, or at least not to the full possible extent, can you give us a quick rundown of what's the bare minimum that a health and wellness online entrepreneur should have in place when it comes to email?
Well, the first thing should be a good welcome sequence. So a welcome sequence is an automated set of emails. And again, I'm assuming most people already know what this is, but sometimes people don't. So an automated set of emails that helps introduce your story, really forms that bond of trust and gives people an intro to your world, to your ecosystem. You do it right, and it's the highest grossing set of emails that you should have. And then once they're done with your welcome sequence, it can be anywhere from ideally 5 to 10 emails. If you don't have bandwidth to do that many, just do 3. And then transition to ideally once a week. Anything less than that, and people tend to forget to look for you in the inbox kind of thing. So that would be my recommendation for bare minimum.
Bare minimum. Okay, so a welcome sequence. Is that going to be connected to a lead magnet, or how would they actually get on that list, or there are a variety of ways?
Yeah, I mean, typically you want to come up with a lead magnet of some sort, whether that be a quiz, whether that be some sort of resource that is very outcome focused. A lot of people get tripped up on that. Like, you want to be able to solve a problem quickly, obviously without giving medical advice or, violating any FDA regulations, but you want to solve a problem that people are looking for a solution.
Got it. Yeah. Adding this email funnel has been great for us. I know personally, like, most calls that we would get booked are not right after they download the lead magnet. Some were, because we do have it on the thank you page, but they're from email. And I think that's going to be the case in a lot of instances where they're not just going to listen to a podcast episode and immediately come and buy your course or book a call or whatever. We need that nurture there. So I've definitely seen firsthand the benefits of email. If you're not using it, it's really just leaving money on the table.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And, obviously, when you've got a podcast, it's easy to say, here's your code to go save. That's easy. Sitting down to write an email can be a little bit more labor intensive and a little bit more annoying. I get that, but push through.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So anybody with email that is set up now to some extent, maybe it's a welcome sequence, maybe it's a little more, and they're curious if my copy is good. Is this working at all? Could I improve the copy in all these emails or one email? What could they go look at and assess right now? And what is something that you commonly see that's a problem in this area?
Well, I see a lot of problems. The first thing is we have a tendency to want to talk about ourselves, which is important. You want to showcase your personality. You want people to get to know you. But the main thing is you want to show what you can do for your customer. Their only question is, what's in it for me? That unless you are the most talented writer and have the best stories and you are so funny, people are there because they want to know what's in it for me. So that's where I see most people get tripped up, especially for doctors. There's a lot, tied up in that kind of prestige and all of their education. So they want to talk about how qualified they are and how, stuff like that. Honestly, people don't want to read that. People want to read about how can you help me feel better? So that's the main thing. I see a lot of people get tripped up on subject lines when it comes to email. I think, and writing in general, we all in school were taught to use $10 words and sound super smart and make it as complicated and complex as possible to showcase your intelligence. Writing online and writing emails isn't like that. People are busy. They need something that's scannable, that's easily digestible. And that is a challenge in this space because, we don't want to be like providing surface level results, surface level advice. A lot of times, the answer is it depends, and you need to come in and you need to work through my one-on-one program and everything like that. So I'm not trying to discount that. But when it comes to your emails and it comes to your writing, simple is what converts. Choose one main idea for your emails. A lot of people get trapped in trying to, use too many CTAs. One idea, one CTA per email is usually plenty. And then to go back to subject lines, people write those very complicated, long-winded email, and then they put the title of their term paper at the top and make that their subject line. So that's the most important thing, because without a compelling and curiosity-inducing subject line, nobody's going to open your email. All of that hard work that you did on writing it, nobody's going to read it. So definitely focus on curiosity when it comes to subject lines. A couple of easy shortcuts are put a number in there, go through your email and see what would make this funny. What would make someone want to read this? Always include, if you can't think of anything else, include the word you, include the word this. These are easy like shortcuts that, make your subject line open rates jump up.
So interesting to hear from a professional who does this stuff all the time, because that's what you're paying for when you hire someone like you. These little secrets that just make it work versus what everyone else would not know.
Yeah, it's crazy because I think everybody does know this,
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like you look at your inbox and you think, wow, this is horrible. How many emails get sent out every day that don't get read because the subject line is terrible? So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's some of the basics. That's great stuff. Subject line, single call to action, making sure that the text is actually simple and straightforward. So we could evaluate our own messages right now, even just based off that, to see if we're making any big mistakes. When it comes to numbers too, because a lot of these email platforms have various numbers and statistics you can look at in reports to see what's getting open, what's not getting open, what's getting clicked. Should we be putting any credence into that as well?
Well, I mean, first things first, as far as like your welcome sequence goes, once someone downloads your lead magnet, that's when they're like the most excited to hear about you, when they first encounter your content. Once they get that lead magnet, that open rate should be 65, 75% or more. The click-through rate should be really high as well, 10, 20, 30%, because people are looking for that information at that moment.
You're talking about the specific email that would have the lead magnet in it?
Yes, the first email in the sequence. So if you're not seeing that, it could be a couple of things. Number one, you might need to warm up your domain, because if you're just starting to send out emails, your email could be going to the junk. So there could be a problem with deliverability, which is always another little tricky thing about emails, is that, you could go through all this work and then it ends up in the junk, which you don't want to do.
I know. Yeah, that's a side note there. It's funny too, when we talk about like, is a consultant worth money and that sort of thing. Remember that story where the guy fixes the boat and it takes him 2 seconds, but he knew exactly where to hit the hammer? Like, that's the kind of thing, because we have been doing email for a while and like just nothing was working. And I was saying, what is going on here? And, one of the first things our marketing consultant pointed out is like, all these are going to the junk. No one is opening the email. So that was the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of people see that. And a lot of people just are exactly the same. They say email doesn't work. Email is dead. Nobody opens emails. And it's like, well, let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah. All these are unopened status. Okay,
Yes,
interesting.
yes. So yeah, that's a huge thing to pay attention to with your numbers. If you start off and it feels like you're not getting the numbers, nobody's excited, nobody's reading, it's probably because your emails are going to junk and you need to warm up your domain. So
Got it. So that'd be the first one. And then from there, if you just look, let's say we have a 10 email welcome sequence and we look at the numbers across those, any big red flags that would stand out like that's not working well?
Yeah, and I mean that is the great thing about this kind of marketing is that the data is so readily available. So you can plug the holes in your ship, If you see one where the click-through rate is low or the open rate is down or, then you just change the subject line. It's easy to test. You don't have to go through this whole rigmarole and redesign something. So yeah, if you're going through the welcome sequence and you see spots that could be better, tweak your subject line, try something different, do something, add an emoji. Emojis also tend to open, not across the board, but they tend to also increase open rates. Add an emoji, add in the number, add in the word you, that kind of thing. And then if the click-through rate is low, you've got to look at how you're positioning the CTA. A lot of people do get tripped up on trying to give too much information instead of teasing it and then having them hit the button. Ideally, an email should be kind of a bridge between the person and going to the next piece of content. The email isn't the end all be all.
Okay. Got it. For you who specializes in a specific niche, there's big value in working with someone like that. How have you seen this play out in the work that you are doing for clients in the women's health space? Like, do you have any either stories or just general thoughts on things that you've seen in the past where they've worked with maybe a general copywriter or even kind of DIY versus when they started coming to work with you? Like, what were some things you noticed that needed to be fixed or some issues that they had been having?
One of the big things, especially in women's health, is the challenge with spam filters. So you can't use anatomically correct words for body parts. There's a lot of things that you cannot say or otherwise you're going to end up in spam. A lot of people don't understand FDA compliance and then they get in trouble. And that actually happened to a client of mine recently where, they'd been calling their product this and that for forever and ever and ever. And I was like, you can't do that. And then I got proved right, unfortunately. So you do have to be very careful. All it takes is somebody with a little bit of spite in their heart to report you and start an FDA investigation that can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. So compliance is very, very important. I mean, yeah, you can get your products taken down. If you're selling on Amazon, same thing. It can be a very costly mistake to make. So yeah, I've had seen some worst case scenario things happen for people that I wish I was able to save them from. But yeah, especially in women's health, it can be very difficult if someone doesn't understand compliance and or the whole creative way to say things without being boring. That's the other key, to keep it sort of fun and lighthearted is to, well, we can't say this, but we're going to call it that kind of thing. And I'm still trying to dance around it here because I
or use an emoji. Hey, it's Joel jumping in for 15 seconds to say if you are ready to take your podcast to the next level and save time so you can focus on your business while generating more leads and revenue through podcasting, book your podcast vitality call with me today at eastcoaststudio.com. You'll find the link in the show notes. Now back to the episode. I want to avoid sounding biased here. I don't want to sound like salespeople for hiring humans, but because we're both humans in an industry where AI is kind of encroaching, but that's every industry. But I do want to have a bit of a chat here about the issues with using AI or the cautions to be aware of, because both of us have seen people rush to use AI for their copy. I've seen it for podcasts. And the fact is, at least at this point in time, in a lot of cases, it's not done a good job. So it's good for people to be aware as everyone's rushing out to just use it and toss it in their email. If you have used AI to spit out all your email marketing and copy, what are some potential issues that you've seen or that you could caution people to look for? Like, this is not a great aspect of what it puts out there.
Yeah, 110%. I mean, I don't want to like AI bash, but it's still not a very good marketer. And it's certainly not a good marketer as far as compliance goes. It's kind of actually scary because I also do a lot of like really research backed, science intensive blog posts where, so like I take someone from the email to read the blog post, and that's where the conversion happens. And AI will literally just completely and totally make up a reference, like an author for a study that doesn't exist, and it will like just insist that it's true. So that's actually really frustrating, and if you are relying on it to try and get you through that 2,000 word blog post, like it's dangerous territory. And then I actually had a client that has a huge newsletter. This is a horrible, worst case scenario kind of story, but 100,000 people on the list, people that were dedicated readers every week, reading this newsletter, gobbling it up, loving it. Great source of revenue for the company. And then they started a podcast. And instead of like sitting down and writing the email and teasing it, they took the transcript, sent it through ChatGPT, and just had it spit out an email and had the VA or whatever send out the email. Well, it literally, after, a very, very short time, we're talking like a matter of weeks, it pretty much tanked the entire list, all of the campaigns that we were sending. We just saw this massive decrease in deliverability, engagement, interest, in everything. And it's been months and we're still not back to where we were just from sending out AI slop. It basically just kind of broke that trust, broke that interest. Email it's kind of a cumulative environment. Every email builds upon the other. And if you think about the emails that you like getting, there's a relationship there. There's an expectation. You get excited when you see it because this is going to be a good story. This is going to be something that's relevant, something that's valuable. When all of a sudden a brand sends out something that doesn't have that same vibe, now your trust is broken. You're not interested. The spell is lifted, and it's so much harder to get that attention back.
Right. And so what you think happened there is that essentially people had come to really enjoy this newsletter for what it was and the writing style and the content. And they literally saw this and it was such low quality, they just kind of gave up on it.
Yep. And deliverability was affected as well. So now, you've got to work on getting out of that junk email box, getting out of the promo tab kind of thing. It may seem like this great cost-effective shortcut. And I'm sure there are people that have different experiences, but from what I've seen, I would say use with caution.
Right. Maybe someday it will get better. Maybe there's a way to prompt it to be better, but I think we're going to pay a big price here for just this craze everyone seems to be in of just firing out AI stuff. Look how much time I'm saving. If you're still writing emails, you're an idiot because look, I did it in 5 seconds. But it's garbage, it's no good. And that was a great example of what you gave. And again, like I said, I don't want to just say, well, AI is completely useless. It makes no sense to, I'm not saying that, but I have seen some crazy stuff as well in the podcasting space. I've seen people's show notes. I've seen at the bottom, is this your style or could I rewrite this for you? Like they're just not even looking at it, pasting it in there or insert link here. Like, okay, use AI, but how about we, take 5 seconds to try to assure that it's a quality piece of content you're putting out for your audience. And you're going to pay a price if that's the amount of effort you're putting into stuff. There's no doubt about it in my mind. I think we're headed for a big reality check.
Yeah, it's it's sad because I do think it sheds a light on this whole ecosystem of content marketing because the only reason content marketing really works is because people want connection. People want a relationship. People want to feel like they know you. They want to feel like you care about them. And AI just takes that out of the equation and it makes it very transactional. It makes it so plain that you don't really feel like putting in the effort. And it makes me personally wonder, like, what is the point here? For us all to just never have to use our brains and never have to use our bodies. And then like, what is the point of life? I'm so confused, but I know I'm odd in that in that respect. Everybody wants to save time, and I get that.
They're calling it AI brain now, where you're not capable of producing your own thought. You have to just immediately look it up. And I'm guilty of doing that sometimes. It's so convenient. Something I'm curious to get you to speak on as well while we're on this topic is the whole trust thing. Because I think this is especially important in the health and wellness space. Now, not everyone is a doctor necessarily where it's like your life is on the line, but even still, we're looking to people as authorities for health advice. And I think this matters. So when I see stuff posted, even if it's like Instagram with a spelling mistake in it, or what we're talking about here with this weird AI stuff, I think that matters. I think that does add up. And I think it's going to be a problem for people moving forward if we have these leaks of trust. Do you agree with that? Or what are you seeing there when it comes to like the content we're putting out and how it builds or breaks trust?
Yeah, I mean, I 110% agree with you. I think, again, especially in health and wellness, yeah, you don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to have a certain set of letters after your name. You don't have to have any of that to build an authentic brand. But you do have to have a human element, someone that cares enough to at least, like you say, spell check the post. Although I have seen actually people saying put in a couple of spelling errors to make it feel more human. I'm like,
when I put content out, I proofread it. So,
right.
But maybe that's the direction we're going. Things are getting so weird these days. So who knows?
Yeah. And I guess that is the problem, is that, we just, nobody knows. No, it's all moving so fast that nobody knows exactly what's going to stick, what's going to work. But what has worked throughout eons of human evolution is relationship building. And again, that's why content marketing works, is the relationship building piece of it that helps people feel seen and helps them feel heard. When you're struggling with something with your health and having someone listen to you, having someone at least try to offer some sort of a solution, that's where, like I was saying, the traditional medical system kind of falls down, where, they don't want to hear you. They don't want to see you. They give you 7 minutes and a prescription for something that's going to, give you 20,000 times worse side effects than what you currently are struggling with. And that's it. So, people want the opposite of that. People want a real human that's actually going to care about if they feel well.
Absolutely, yeah. So unless it's something physical, like a product or a service that people need, I think very few of us are safe from AI completely. Even a health coach, I could just ask ChatGPT to spit me out a meal plan or something like that. Like, it's going to affect everyone. So I'm curious, just from an entrepreneur's perspective for you, what's been on your mind in terms of demonstrating your benefits? We kind of got into it a bit here, but your benefits as a human writer versus just, AI can do it for way less than 30 seconds. I'm just going to use that. What have you been kind of promoting out there?
I'm getting a lot of people kind of showing up with like piles and piles and piles of stuff that they've put into ChatGPT, and they don't know which direction to go. It's like there's all this information, but you still need someone to tell you exactly what to do. Because unfortunately with marketing, a lot of it is a science, but some of it is an art. And if there was an exact formula that you just do A, B, C, and D, and you got the results, everybody would be billionaires, and there wouldn't be marketers. So there's still like a big need for the strategy piece. And I've actually been saying this for years, as a copywriter, like we should stop calling ourselves copywriters, because number one, we would never let our clients call themselves something so vague and confusing. And it doesn't speak to the results that we can provide. It's not outcome driven. So, what I always did was called myself a copywriter and then did a whole heap of strategy that I didn't really charge for. So, so basically, to me, I'm doing the same exact thing, but just leaning more into strategy, and then copywriting is kind of like the little extra bit that I'm not really charging for. So I don't know if that applies to any other industries or not, but I'm definitely, like I said, seeing a lot of, there's just so much information. You can put into ChatGPT, write me, a Russell Brunson style funnel for this product or course that I'm thinking of, and it will spit out a bunch of stuff, a bunch of stuff that's mediocre. But without the direction of someone who actually has some experience and can actually guide you through which step to take next, it's almost useless because it's so overwhelming.
Right. And maybe it could do that someday too, but I definitely agree right now. These services that it's able to quickly replace, the strategy is so important. It's interesting to see what AI spits out, and I've tried it myself, especially when it comes to writing. Here, I have an affinity for old school, like quality content, where we actually cared about it and people made it. I like that. Maybe we're going to be old school in the sense that people they're not going to care anymore, that it has mistakes in it, that it's just fired out. Video editing is all choppy now. Content writing is just bland. Maybe that's just going to be, that's the thing. They're like, look, your way costs 10 times more and takes way longer, and it doesn't justify. The ROI is not there. So maybe we're just going to go all AI, and that's just where we're going to be. But personally, when I've written some stuff, like I've tried it in, ChatGPT or Grok or whatever versus writing my own, it's not right. Like, I'm not even a writer, but I've even said, like, here's what I wrote. Can you make this better and, make it suitable for LinkedIn? And it just ruins it. It's not what I wanted. And it just sounds like everything else. I don't know what to do with it or how to prompt it. But at the end of the day, it's just not right. It's not what it was supposed to be. So I just end up finding it was easier to just write it myself in the first place. And maybe that will pay off in terms of like engagement and impressions, and people will like it. Or maybe I could compare it and find that, the AI version would have done better or just as good. And I thought, why'd I spend an hour writing this? I don't know. But it feels wrong to me for sure to see that stuff that it just spits out and to use that.
Yeah, I have to agree. I've taken courses on the prompting. I've taken, all sorts of classes because you don't want to get left behind. And, the people that aren't using these tools are going to be the ones who are out of business. And I think, in marketing in general, people get really excited about things and then they die away and then the old stuff comes back. And personally, I can still sniff it from a mile away when you're scrolling through LinkedIn or wherever, and you see a post that is AI generated, and especially the AI comments, it just makes me laugh. There's just a vibe to it that it doesn't feel right. It's just lacking in depth. It's lacking in imagination, because at the end of the day, AI doesn't have imagination. It can't ideate. That's basically its downfall, is that it's just melding together everything that everyone else has already written. And, personally, as someone who's written over 2 million words that are on the internet, so it's stolen all of my work, all of my blood, sweat, and tears. Kind of makes me at first it made me angry. Now I'm just like, whatever, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. But where are we headed with all this? What is the point, I mean, to me, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie WALL-E, but my son used to love that movie when he was little. And I
like that movie. Yeah.
It's like, this is the future I see us steering towards, It's just like, man, we're all, we have no bone mass and no muscle mass. And we're all just sitting in our chairs, drinking a big gulp, letting the computer run the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the future I want personally. But
no. Again, and we'll see. Because we don't get to dictate what the future becomes. But I can say, ideally, I would love to see people rise to the top that were continuing to put some actual effort and humanness into their work, So we'll see. I don't want to be a naysayer either. And whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But just my personal view on things, just if you're churning out a bunch of junk, why is that going to rise to the top? I don't think that it will.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. And I had a bit of an existential crisis, because I think because it hit my industry hardest, I was like, what even is life? What is going on? Like, oh my gosh. And then I kind of came to that realization, like, wait a second. Cream always rises to the top. If you're doing good work, if you are being interesting, if you care about people, those are the things that matter and always have and probably always will, hopefully. And writing your own stuff is part of that.
Yes. And that strategy, like you talked about, is important too. That's for people that are trying to do business out here. I need that part. Because otherwise, you're just going to end up with some emails you paid someone for or you used AI for and no business still. Still nothing is working. So like you said, what do I do now? Okay, yep. So we've covered some great stuff. The importance of email. We've looked at the cautions around AI, the benefits of using a person. I think that's all great. I would like to ask a final question here that's a bit of a different direction, but something you mentioned to me in a conversation that did make me quite curious because you mentioned that you have a ton of business come through referrals. So this is a little different from email, but so many of us love referrals for a lot of different reasons. I was just curious, as an entrepreneur, did you do anything to help encourage additional referrals or optimize that? Or are you just literally sitting back and letting them just come in from your clients?
Gosh, I am literally the worst marketer when it comes to marketing my own business. I don't know what it is. I put in like a little bit of effort and then like the universe like sweeps in and just inundates me with good things. I don't know why that is. But I've just always been very lucky. My clients have always sung my praises and always just referred me to other people. Other contractors that I've worked with have always referred me to other people. I wish that I had this like great strategy of things that I've done to make that happen. But other than just never missing a deadline, always showing up, doing my best work, really and truly caring from the depth of my soul about the quality of my work, that's it. I really literally have never come up with any sort of strategy around creating referrals. I'm sorry.
No, that's great to hear. I like to hear others' experiences around it as well. That's really it. Doing good work, people are happy to refer you. The thing that we found in our business, though, is just we grew to a certain point and we wanted to grow more. And referrals, they still come, but they only kind of got us so far. Like we needed more referrals. We launched a referral program and that sort of thing, only to find people really tell us like, Joel, I don't want any money. I don't care. I'll happily refer anyone to you anyway. It was just a matter of how many people they had, right? So it's great to hear that you are able to have a great business largely from referrals.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a blessing. I am a single mom. I've been a single mom for 17 years. And there was many years of my life where, I worked for the whole entire month, driving back and forth in Atlanta traffic to bring home $2,800. This business has been such a blessing to our lives, and I'm so grateful for it. And I'm also very lucky that I can only do so much. Right. I can't really. If I want to scale, I've got to hire people. I've got to hire other writers.
Wait, you haven't turned yourself into a chat GPT bot yet and you're just doing copy for 5 billion people?
So yeah, I can only do so much. My calendar stays very full, and I'm very blessed that I have the kind of business model that I do, and I understand most people don't. You've got to work with more people at scale in order to make it work. But for me, so far, I haven't had to do that because I don't like managing people.
Well, let's hope it's continuing for you, because you definitely have the expertise here. There's no doubt about it. So whatever shift that may have to happen in the future, you've got that strategy expertise, clearly much more beyond a chat GPT AI written email. So really appreciate you sharing your insight. This was extremely helpful. And it's Amy Griffin at griffincopy.com. We'll put your link in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. This was so enjoyable.
Join us again next time on Profits Through Podcasting for more insights on how to turn your health-focused podcast into a lead and revenue generation machine for your business. Are you ready to let a team of professionals handle your entire podcast production workflow? East Coast Studio can help you elevate your podcast to the higher quality standards required for credibility in the health and wellness space. Plus, give you the guidance and support needed to podcast consistently, growing your impact and your sales. Visit eastcoaststudio.com to learn more.